While Napoleon is a man, studied by many historians, and written about in many books, most of it is so often about his glorious victories in war, or his fall, or his personal life. An issue not so often focused on is his domestic policy, yet it is no less important than those other two. Indeed, Napoleon was one of the most influential figures in bringing about a modern France, and continuing the ideas of the Revolution while stabilizing the government. Over the course of this video, we will explain just how important Napoleon's domestic policies really were. At the core of Napoleon's values and beliefs was his extreme dislike of chaos. He believed that the world should always have order, and he hated the discord of the French Revolution, no matter how much it had helped him. So naturally, when he gained power in the government, his first actions were to consolidate and centralize it. Instead of the councils made up of hundreds of men, Napoleon created the consulate, a government led by 3 men, with the first consul naturally being Napoleon himself. Napoleon's second consul was Cambacérès, a Montagnard during the Revolution who had helped implement the terror. His third consul was Lebrun, a man who had held nearly opposing ideas to Cambacérès. However, even being one of the 3 most powerful men in France was not enough for Napoleon. He held a vote for the people to see if they wanted him to become emperor. Due to his immense popularity and knack for propaganda, Napoleon succeeded in the vote and was crowned emperor, his ultimate, all-powerful, final position in France. His new government was created, and it was strong, unified, and dictated by order.
Napoleon's economic policy was designed to strengthen France's international standing and increase his popularity domestically. His main reform focused on equality under law. Now, no one was free from taxes or tariffs, and everyone had the same chance to improve their economic standing. However, even with the new laws, France was still in heavy amounts of debt. In order to jumpstart the economy, Napoleon ordered the construction of many public works, including canals, bridges, and railroads. This shoved money into the economy, creating jobs and improving the workforce. Unfortunately, the currency that he had inherited, the signet, was next to worthless, and Napoleon needed to fix that. He then reinstituted the Bank of France, an old regime bank that Napoleon turned into the National Bank. This bank started giving loans and stabilized the French currency. Because nobody was exempt from taxes,
except for Dvorak,
the connotations associated with paying taxes vanished. It was no longer a dishonor to be forced to pay taxes, so people stopped dodging them, and tax revenue went through the roof. Napoleon's economic reforms righted France's economy and helped his war machine.
Privately, Napoleon did not see religion as a matter of importance. Publicly, he used it to his advantage whenever he could. He knew that most of the world saw religion as something incredibly powerful, and so he turned that fact into his favor. When he went to Egypt, he was a Muslim. When he was in France, he was a Catholic. When he was among learned scholars, he was a free thinker. Napoleon saw religion as a tool and behaved accordingly. He also factored religion into his national policy. He realized that the creation of the constitutional clergy was one of the strongest dividing factors in France at the time, and that had been extremely detrimental to the revolution, so he resolved not to make the same mistake. He contacted the Pope and arranged an agreement between them called the Concordat of 1801. The agreement stipulated that the Catholic Church would recognize the French Empire as a legitimate government in exchange for the French government instituting them as the national religion. The Pope once again held absolute power over religion in France, but the Church did not get back any of its land nor its tithes.
Napoleon is generally considered a master of propaganda. After obtaining fame as a war hero, he built his image with careful and precise campaigns, increasing his popularity with the people. Once he became first consul and then emperor, he expanded his use of propaganda. He censored any negative publications about his regime and commissioned any statues and paintings depicting him as a conquering hero and his army as invincible. By controlling the media, he controlled the people of France and his domestic popularity.
Joseph Fouché was appointed by Napoleon as Minister of Police, and he felt that he could only be safe as long as Napoleon was in power. Thus, he did whatever he felt was necessary in order to keep Napoleon in power. He advised Napoleon to pass the Law of 28 Pluvios, which allowed the implementation of government spies throughout France, even though they had been banned since 1791. This secret police inspired a great fear among the citizens of France because they had no idea who was an informant and who wasn't.
Possibly the most discussed aspect of Napoleon's domestic policy is the code for French law that he created, called the Napoleonic Code. This code was not just important to France. Indeed, the ideals stated in it were spread all over Europe and influenced many other countries other than just Napoleon's. The code was the first written code of laws for France as a whole. Before this, France had a multitude of regional laws, each different and completely separate, making the enforcement of them on a wide scale nearly impossible. Napoleon put an end to all of this, and his code was created with the intention of being the be-all and end-all of French law. He broke up the code into 3 sections: law of persons, law of property, and law of acquiring property. The code was based on the Roman corpus juris civilis, and held the main points of equality regardless of birth and the need for legal contracts and agreements. While the code was lacking in providing for women's rights, it was a huge step forward for that day and age, and is still being praised for being one of the most important pieces of law ever created in Europe.